not so very interesting subject. But since mid-April, when the corona wave 2 hit my country, there have been irregular reports and personal observations also. All those patients who has been hit by corona, once they are hospitalized and taken to any hospital, may government or private, anywhere, they had lesser chances of survival than if they under hospitalization. A strange kind of a thought has taking over the minds of the people that going to the hospital is dangerous. Amidst all that, today I read an article, "The Dying and the Dead." It's written by a Western medical professional. Somebody sends me in a social media on a WhatsApp, and I read it, and then the thought, food for thought comes to mind. It is the author's observations, not mine actually, but I am sharing with you. It is simply the gist of the article was that all these modern methods of resuscitation are most decided by most modern technology. They are actually out of place. The resuscitation only renews the patient's suffering, the author says. Such attempted defiance of nature is even less justifiable than the effort for prolonging life when the inevitable approach of death appears merciful release. Far too many corona patients I know, young, elderly, perfectly fine, infected, rushed to the, firstly there is such a shortage of the hospitals and oxygen, all those things, you all know it, but still somehow you manage a place and you realize that majority of them, they collapse. Now this dying, the author says this dying ought to be allowed to depart in peace. When the stage comes that there simply is no other treatment, simply because there is no treatment for death even. The author feels even the doctors, the family and the patients and spiritual advisors, all of them agree that the struggle is hopeless. The physician should do all he can to alleviate the patient's suffering and should actually makes no effort to prolong his or her life. A very strange and difficult thought to digest. Some will accuse that these doctors are trying to play God. But the author says in the article, he outrightly rejects this kinds of allegation or this kind of charges and says it is actually the physician who prolongs life by using extraordinary ordinary measures, and he is playing God. Here I remember my father's incident. In March 2000, in February 28, 2013, a healthy man, perfectly fine, 72 years old. He had during an MRI, they found that he has got a small blockage in the carotid in the neck. You see, 80%, not small, 80% of blockage, but he was perfectly fine. And this is a very minor operation. It takes 20-30 minutes to remove that block, and we will ensure that he does not get any paralytic attacks or something. In enthusiasm, in exuberance, immediately, and the best hospital in the country was RR, Research and Referral Hospital in New Delhi. me, my mother, and my father, we drove to Delhi. And and we got admitted the very Delhi, and the first March we are into the hospital. And they also saw the reports and all that. This is no problem. On 3rd March we will operate, and it's a minor operation. And he happily walks up to the on the due date to the operation theater, and he gives his iPad and watch to my sister. He says, "Kabhi aata hu. I'll just get back." And he enters the operation theater. God knows what happens on the operation table, which was supposed to be scheduled for 30-40 minutes, and this thing. For 8 hours we kept waiting, but he never came out. And actually he never came back. He got up from the bed, and like we were told that it's very sad. He is no more. Now, retrospection, I think back. We are no God. And all kinds of retrospective thinking is that futile, I agree. But had we not gone for that operation in our exuberance, God knows, he would have got little more years. But our decision, or this modern method of resuscitation, cost him instant death. It may not be case every time, but it is there. The travails, the author says, the travails and misfortunes, he was referring about the survey is happening to the members of every family in the Corona times. He suggested what he did to a member of his immediate family. He kept her in her, after giving the best effort in this thing, and they were sure there is no scope, he kept her in her room, in her own bed, in her own home, and made certain that she suffers as little as possible with the palliative care, the pain management, until she was released by death. My friend, the article ends up by the author's resolve that I have decided to dedicate my life for caring for old and suffering. But when their hour comes, I shall devote my energy and keeping them to keeping them free from pain, well within the limits and the parameters of the law of that prevailing in that country, but certainly not to in the favor of prolonging a misery called life. Food for thought. मर के मिट्टी में मिलूंगा, खाक हो जाऊंगा मैं, फिर खुलूंगा शाख पर आबाद हो जाऊंगा मैं, बार बार आऊंगा मैं तेरी नजर के सामने, और फिर एक रोज तेरी याद हो जाऊंगा मैं. Thank you very much.